This tiny tale is a little bit ghostly, a little bit folklorish, and definitely historic. I took a 3 mile round walk along unpopulated roads to try and get a photo of the outside of the Hagge. I did know that it was a working farm. I did try, but unfortunately I couldn't get close enough. I have included some old images that I've found and a couple of snaps that I took of the fields which the building overlooks. The Hagge is a Jacobean mansion built by Sir Peter Frecheville in 1630. However, it may have been built earlier, as there is an entry in an old Staveley register dated 1618 by one Thomas Hitch of the Hagge. The Frecheville family, alongside the Musard family who owned the estates prior, had come over to England with William the Conqueror. By 1540, the Frechevilles owned the entire Staveley estate. The building was erected as a dower house or hunting lodge, but may also have served as extra quarters when Staveley Hall was overcrowded. The estates were sold to the Duke of Devonshire and have been tenanted by various people since then, one of them being Mr. Crawshaw. A gentleman from Ireland visited Mr. Crawshaw and was not aware of any potential supernatural activity. Accounts vary as to what happened. One states that on the morning after his arrival, he looked around the breakfast table and asked whether the White Lady had passed on the stairs the previous night would be joining them for breakfast. In another, he came downstairs and asked if there were any visitors, as he had woken to his bedroom door opening, and then a white-robed lady walked slowly across the room before disappearing through a wall. Previously, occupiers had difficulty persuading servants to stay very long, and though any paranormal activity may have diminished in recent times, there have still been reports of unidentified footsteps on the stairs and outside, and mysterious creaks. The White Lady is said to have haunted the Hagge for many years, dressed in an antique cloak and hat. Here is an excerpt from a poem written by Mrs. Swift in 1863 about the White Lady. Then as you cross the entrance hall to ascend the oaken stair, fear not to meet the lady who hath oft times lingered there. In cloak and hat of antique guise and robes of purest white, she vanishes from the gazer's eyes e'en in the noontide light. None stayed her steps, none questioned her, for her lips were mute and pale, and a snow-white greyhound followed, fleet as the passing gale. It has been suggested that the White Lady could be Sarah Harrington, a former maid of honour to Queen Henrietta. A more widely accepted speculation seems to be that the White Lady is the spirit of Frances, the wife of Colonel Thomas Culpeper. Frances was born in 1638 and was the youngest daughter of Lord John Frecheville and his second wife Sarah. Sarah had attempted to elope secretly with Colonel Thomas Culpeper when they escaped from the Hall together and drove down Hall Lane one night. However, the coach met with an accident which ruined their plans. Though they later married, this was still opposed by Sir John Frecheville, especially as the Colonel had become involved in a brawl with the Earl of Devonshire at King James II's court. Sir John cut Frances out of his will. Frances's life was unhappy. Many have seen her on a darkened Hall Lane at the same time that she was due to elope. The cloak and hat she wears may have been to shield her identity from her disapproving father. Another point of interest for the Hagge was the old oak tree which was blown down in a gale on the 12th of December 1883. The tree was said to have been in existence even before the house and to have been planted in the reign of King Henry VIII. When the Fosbrooks added a new wing to the Hagge, the tree needed buttressing in the form of earth banks, timber and chains. They were no doubt desperately trying to keep the tree upright, in part due to the legends associated with it. It was known to Staveley residents as the haunted oak or the mandrake tree. The tree was venerated by the local people. It was said to be the only oak tree in the county which grew mistletoe. It was said that when the tree was cut, it bled, with the sap issuing forth, not being clear, but thick and blood red. The tree was further labelled the mandrake tree, as it was also said to issue a half-human shriek when it was cut. This led to the tree never being trimmed throughout its long lifetime. The legend grew that the tree was protected by an ogre, goblin, or a fairy spirit that lived inside it. One woodman alleged that he had heard a supernatural voice from the tree, threatening that the house would fall down if the tree were ever cut by human hands. Richard Froggatt also said that he was unable to get near the tree due to it being guarded by an ogre. The oak tree has a tradition of being revered in British folklore, and there are many legends, cures and customs associated with it. An interesting point from the book The Witch's Garden, Plants in Folklore, Magic and Traditional Medicine by Sandra Lawrence was that oak was so valued for battleships in England during Tudor times that the forest became severely depleted, giving the oak an additional practical value. Fortunately, the oak tree was uprooted by the natural elements and not by human hands, so Hagge Hall still stands. No doubt these tales may have served well to keep people away from the precious mistletoe-growing oak, which was a rarity in Derbyshire. There was one additional tantalising snippet mentioned in Staveley, My Native Town, Some Historical Notes from the Parish by Arthur Court, with regards to the old oak tree. He states it is alleged that druidical ceremonies were celebrated there, but on what grounds I do not know. If anyone does happen to know of any grounds for this, I would love to hear them.